All right, welcome here. I am my name is Kevin Falk. I am on the National Association of Plant Breeders Education Committee, and today I'm honored to sit with Karen Lawton-Dunn from Iowa State University. Karen, tell me a little bit about what you do at Iowa State.
Sure. Well, I am the director of the Graduate College Career Services.
Mm-hmm.
I work with graduate students and postdocs on their career search. I really feel like a career coach. So we talk anything from resumes, CVs, to interviewing skills, LinkedIn, and on.
And how you and I know each other is because you were my career coach not too long ago when I was looking for a job, and even before that. And one thing I think that I maybe did differently than most others is I found out that you existed earlier on in my PhD career, and so then I can start leveraging our relationship, learning from you, learning how to write a resume, learning how to apply for jobs, learning how to network, learning how to use LinkedIn. And so that last one is kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today is tell me a little bit about LinkedIn and how you utilize it.
Well, I am a LinkedIn fan. I've been on LinkedIn 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been, so I don't know how I found it in the middle of Iowa, but I did. It is a great opportunity to just meet people and connect with people around the world electronically. And in 2020, social media is the norm. And that is the way that people are finding jobs right now. They're not going and finding you online. They really are finding out who people are on LinkedIn.
Right. Yeah, I found it a great way to connect both on the academic level and on the professional or industry side of things, so public and private alike. So I guess what I wanted to start with today is how do you help students with LinkedIn? What are the first common problems that students maybe have, or hurdles that they have to overcome when utilizing LinkedIn, and how to get good at it?
Well, I think the biggest hurdle really is not the use of it, is the belief that it works. And so the first thing I do is talk to them about how applicant tracking systems work in companies, and when you upload your resume, nobody sees it. However, now recruiters are using LinkedIn, and I have visuals that show some of those, how those look and how easy. What would you do if you saw somebody's picture show up on LinkedIn? You would just click on it and open up their screen. So you're not even looking at their resume.
Right.
So that's the first hurdle. Once I get that done, then they're all in. And so then really what we talk about is a picture. The picture really needs to have a smile. That is, at least in the United States, that is our cultural norm. So that's your professional hello. And then the keywords that come underneath your name are very, very important, because that's where the algorithms and the search engines go.
Right.
And so you need to put words that describe yourself, not just your title.
So I'm going just to open up LinkedIn right now, and I'm going to type in your name. And your page comes up here. And there you are. So you have a number of these keywords underneath your name.
Yes.
And career coach, mentor, LinkedIn strategist, graduate student, and postdoc career skill developer, advocate, and ally. So, and you can see others, on the people also viewed, they have the same, their title, and then underneath their title, they have kind of some of these keywords. So it's really interesting how that works.
Yeah, and some people once, and you actually, I'm going to talk on your LinkedIn profile, you have your title, but you don't have the skills. And you could still you have 2 lines on that to go with your skills. And what happens is, as people continue to try to search for people, you have a lot of video skills. So if you were to add that, when people are looking for plant breeding and then video, that you might pop up in their search engine more likely.
Right, because that keyword, it's that search engine optimization, which was a keyword from a buzzword from 10 or more years ago, trying to get your website found out. Now instead of a website being found out, you're trying to get your LinkedIn found out. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's number one, or I guess number one and number two. That's what people see, and that's what I'm seeing here. people's professional photos, a professional photo, a smiling photo, and you can see the 3 that I have up here.
Yeah.
Granted, I believe they're all HR individuals that I've known from my past life or my present life, but it's professional photos and they're smiling, which is a cultural norm here in America, and that's something that's often overlooked, and it's interesting that you bring that up. Okay, what next? If I'm a graduate student and I'm looking for a job in plant breeding, or in any job, but for us, for NAPB, we're looking for plant breeding type roles. What's next?
The next part would be going down to your experiences. And the about section there is important, but I think if we were to say in order of importance, getting down to your experiences would be the next thing. So let's pop down there. That would be your job history. And if you see there, my title says Director of Graduate College Career Services. Now, what I want people to understand is that when they're searching on LinkedIn, employers are not searching for graduate assistant, postdoc, scientists. They may not be. They're searching for those key words sometimes.
Okay.
So it might be plant breeding. So when I work with a lot of graduate students and postdocs, they have graduate student. And I ask them, what's your major? Because I'm going to have to hunt around LinkedIn to find where your specialty is.
Right.
So add plant breeding graduate student, or plant breeding, or a molecular biologist. And what I tell the students is that academia really likes to have you just say graduate assistant. But in the industry setting, you're all about the specialty and your field. And so you really need to put both in. And that's kind of a thought process to overcome. So that title, and then what you put underneath there, really needs to be the bullets of what you've done in your job, not your accomplishments as far as research, but we want quantifiable skills of analyze 200 data sets utilizing R, JUMP, and SAS.
Right.
That's going to tell us what you do.
It's just something very tangible instead of, the intangible type of results or what you do.
And the more degrees and the more research you are, the higher the research you have, the more likely you try to put in your research accomplishments. And what we want to know is, if you've done plant breeding and you've worked with all corn, but you're applying for jobs in cotton or beans or all these different other ones, we don't want them to think you're only going to work in corn. We want them to know, show that diversity in that fact that you take away the corn and just put analyzed data sets in these fields, in these tools.
So you're almost segregating your areas of expertise. Yes, you know a lot about corn breeding, but you can do data analytics on soybeans, on cotton, on canola, on wheat, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be on corn.
Right. And student people work with RNA, DNA, plant DNA, and people DNA.
Right. DNA is DNA.
DNA is DNA. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So be very specific with what you've done in the past, with your experiences and your knowledge, and that sort of thing.
And then I would also add to quantify by using numbers, percentages, and dollars. So if you have done 200 data sets, or if you've done 2 data sets, depending on your field, don't write out the number 2, use the number. Use the number of raised input by 50%, or whatever increases you can, but use the numerals, because numerals actually catch people's eyes and make them read that line better.
Deliverables, this is and now me being more in the industry world, it's becoming more and more important. But I think it's important when in academia, when applying for grants as well, those numerical values are definitely important. Okay, one thing I wanted to ask you, what did we got? You got your experience.
Well, the next thing I would go down to would be really the skills. I think, you do have your education on there. You put that with information that you need. Make sure you don't just put a master's degree. Make sure you put your title that really describes your degree. You might have had a biology degree, but you were a molecular biologist, so get detailed about that. So I think that the degree is very important, but really the next section down is skills, I believe, if we continue down there. And then, Yeah, skills. So you can open that up. The top 3 show automatically, and you can put, last I checked, up to 50 skills. But this is where the algorithms are going through from the industry. So the algorithms are starting with the line underneath your name with those keywords.
Right.
It goes through your job titles, which is why the job title needs to be so specific. And then it goes through these skills.
Right.
And you need to remember that it's not just the field you're in. Get those interpersonal skills. Too many times people come to me and they have every skill, data analytic, hard skill,
but not the soft skills.
They don't have collaboration, teamwork, public speaking, technical writing.
Right.
And you have those, and what people are hiring is a people that have a good, well-rounded personality.
Right. Yeah.
And they don't want somebody who only knows how to research and sit in a lab by themselves.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I can say that. Definitely an industry. And I think primarily industry is using LinkedIn probably more than academia at this point. Right. But I'm sure that'll shift over time with as people start picking up on LinkedIn. But yeah, definitely show your soft skills. Us as scientists, we often focus on these technical skills and how you've been able to do all this, and you know how to be in the field, you know how to be in the lab, you know how to work your computer and do your analysis, and that's what you're really proud of. What I've seen is a big effort lately, at Iowa State at least, with our graduate students in plant breeding, is to push more on these softer skills. We get individuals like yourself, individuals on science communication, on interviewing, on networking, to come in and talk to us and show us, teach us, because we're so strong technically. Where we fall short is these soft skills, and a great way to highlight your soft skills is on your LinkedIn page.
Yes, and I think that after the skills, if you scroll down, the ultimate thing that I think will get you a job, in my personal opinion, is right there, is your recommendations. This has basically turned our whole interview process upside down. In the past, you would have to go through a phone interview or however, face-to-face interview, and then they would finally start to call your references. What happens today is that in 2 minutes, a recruiter can click on your profile, scroll down through your skills, and then the first thing I would do is go down and see where the recommendations are and say, who is this person? Are they a good coworker? Are they a good supervisor? Are they a good team member? And so those references don't necessarily have to come from supervisors.
Right.
Your peers, people that you've supervised are actually just as important, because that's going to tell us how you're going to work as a team.
Right.
And so they're short little references.
How do you go about asking people to write a reference like that? I think that's the hardest, because I'll go down to the bottom of my LinkedIn page and I don't think I have any of these, maybe 1 or 2. I don't even remember at this point. Nothing compared to what you have.
Well, I've been on it 11 years, so.
Well, but how would I go and who would I talk to? Maybe some of my professors, my PhD professors. Maybe if I worked in industry as an intern, ask my boss to write a quick clip. I know everybody's really busy, and it can be difficult to get time. And then it's quite an imposition to ask someone to write a reference for you. If it's for a job and you really need it, well then, yeah, of course. But for can you write something for my LinkedIn profile? So how do you advise graduate students to ask for references like this?
There's a variety of things that you do. A lot of people, you endorse my skills and I go out and endorse your skills, and you don't and write an endorsement and then they'll write one back for you. You kind of show them how that's done by going out and writing one for somebody else. So you can do that and kind of get the ball rolling.
That's a great idea.
So and the thing is you need to be honest. LinkedIn is really a professional networking site. So we don't want somebody to go in and click all the skills you have. We want them to be honest. And you can actually, as an individual, go in and determine if you want that recommendation or skill shown that they referred it. I say that if they have LinkedIn, you could send them a message that says, or actually just request a recommendation. And then I suggest send an email to them and say, look, I'm updating my LinkedIn profile. I could really use a recommendation. Could you speak about my teamwork? And give them something little and short to talk about. And that sets the stage to making it easier.
Right.
Some people, and I've asked students that have worked for me to write the recommendation letter for me,
Right.
and then I go in and edit and massage
Yeah,
it how I want. That way it's saying the things that they need it to say,
Right.
because I don't know.
That's
The other is just to email people or call them and explain to them. But I think when you just look at supervisors, we're overlooking how we work as a team. So as teammates and colleagues in your office, you could just, fellow graduate students that you went to school with, ask them, how did I work as a team player? How did you feel in our teams?
Right.
And discussing those interactions. If you taught classes or mentored students, have them talk about how they feel about working with you as a supervisor.
Right, so you get the three pieces of the puzzle,
Correct.
right? You
Right.
get someone from your supervisor, some peers that are on the same level, and then people that you supervise as well. That's a great idea. And I like your ideas. You take the first step. You extend the olive branch as well. So I might go on and write a review for a peer, a friend of mine. Well, maybe not a friend, but a peer of mine. And then I could ask them to write one back. And it doesn't have to be a letter. It can be, a 5-sentence paragraph, right?
Correct. In fact, shorter is a little bit more appropriate when it comes to LinkedIn references. It's not like a whole page. It's not the phone call. And so it's just that quick view so that recruiter and the people that are maybe looking at collaborating with you go, yeah, that's somebody I think I could spend the next 2 years collaborating with.
Right.
I'm going to reach out to them. So I think that is actually one of the most, once you get the other things that are found, with all those keywords, to me this reference, there are so many people in the country that do not use the reference part on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And it is the game changer.
It is the game changer.
The recommendation.
Right. I hear this a lot is everybody has a PhD. So say I have a PhD and I'm going for a position. Everybody applying for this job has a PhD. Everyone has the necessary skills that you do. So what do you have to give you a level up, right? And things like this is when a recruiter or an HR from someone in industry can look through and say, oh, people are really, Kevin is a team player, or he's been a good manager, a good supervisor, or his supervisors have really enjoyed him. He helps the team. He's the glue that sticks everyone together, or whatever it may be. That can really go a long way to separate you from other candidates.
Yes, and it really is when you all have similar degrees. It is about setting yourself apart and finding what makes you special. And I always tell students, everybody has something that makes them special. You're going to be a little bit more knowledgeable.
Right.
So volunteer, do leadership opportunities. Even if you're working at the food bank, it shows that you're involved in things outside of just the lab.
Right.
And if you were to scroll back up to those key words at the very top, that's another place where you want to add something besides a title or plant breeding. So you could add manager, leader, teacher, collaborator. You could add some of those soft skills just as a word. You could add some of those computer skills or software programs that are going to show up in job descriptions. That's where they're going to be found there.
Let's transition to more networking, and maybe networking with LinkedIn, or just because I know a lot of the graduate students that might be watching this maybe will be looking for jobs and they're using LinkedIn. So say they have LinkedIn. Looking for a career for future positions is beyond LinkedIn, right? Networking is so important. Can you what are your top highlights for networking? What are your top suggestions or advice?
We could do that, or we could look for a job, because I can show you how to network from looking from a job. Okay?
Sure.
So name a job title that you want to look for.
I would say plant breeder, but sometimes they're not called plant breeder.
Right. So what other words are they? Just look there in jobs in plant breeding. Okay.
Or maybe I'll just put plant breeding, I guess.
Yeah.
I can just...
So sometimes when you get into, let's stay on this, when you get in here, you're going to be able to see the connections up there.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and so you can see if anybody from your university or anybody that you know.
Right.
And so what I work with students is that we go in and look at positions they're interested in hiring in, so we're more focused. And we go in and say, oh, there's 3, in my case, Iowa State alumni. Iowa State alumni are notoriously helpful, and I think all alumni are. I'm just, a little bit more skewed to Iowa State. But you go in there and look for people that might have connections, and then you can start searching them. Now, I have the paid membership, and I really don't.
I used to, and then I got a job, and I'm like, well, why am I paying $15 a month for
Right. It's pretty expensive, so I tell you, if you're searching for a job, try not to get it until, you really need it, and maybe get it 2 months and really use it heavy for 2 months so that you have a 1 month free sort of thing. I work with students and tell them to come into me because I have a paid version as a part of my job. But when you get those in there, you can see sometimes a little bit more. So what I do is, if you see here, you have, there's 99 alumni that work at ADM. So, I would go click on that 99 alumni, so go click on that.
Would there be places where it might show a connection, or would it just say alumni?
Well, yes, yours would show a connection if you have
Let's
anybody.
go to this one, because this is Beck's. There it says three connections, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So let's click on, if I click on that, it'll show.
Yeah.
So Tara, Todd, and Caitlin. So
Tara. They're all first connections.
Right. These I know these 3 people.
Right. They're your first connections. So now, if you were looking for a job and you found one on there, there's the 3 people that maybe you could send a message to, or an email if you know them well, and say, hey, I'm looking at a job in this organization. Tell me, could you help pass along my resume?
Tell me about the job. So I did the same thing when I found my job. So I found the job, and I contacted people that I knew in the organization. Could you tell me more about this position? And that connection really helped me out, because I had a mentor that worked at this company that I'm at now, and so I talked to him, and he talked to the hiring manager, and the hiring manager called me and be like, oh yeah, we have this connection, and that was one more point of contact, and because my mentor gave me a good reference just in the conversation, that I think went to a long way to me getting an offer. So.
And I think if these were second connections, so you didn't know them directly, what happens is that's when you have to use that person in between you to get an introduction.
Right.
And when you're doing that, you're not asking them for a job or an interview. You're just going in then what we call an informational interview, and saying, hey, I'm out looking to see what jobs are out there and looking at organizations. Tell me about what you like about working here.
Right.
What is it? What other companies have you worked at? What kind of job titles are there? Because you can search out those job titles that help you do a better search for jobs than in LinkedIn.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So let's go back. So there is connections. What else? Like when looking
so
for
if you saw for company alumni, let's click on that and just see what that says. Who you have show up.
Right. So these are individuals.
So this is where you would look at who do you have in common with those second degree. So down there is Scott Beadle. You have a few connections there, and if you know one of that Francis or Tabre, you could email them or message them and say, hey, would you be able to introduce me to Scott Beadle?
Right.
I'm looking at that organization and would really like to talk to somebody in that field. I use the message function quite a bit over here.
Right.
When I'm working with students, I have them come in and I will sit down and we'll go through about four jobs. And I have set messages out on behalf of the student as the Iowa State contact. So as my position as the Director of Graduate Career Services, I'll send the message to somebody I know, or even just an Iowa State alumni. And I say, hey, I'm contacting you as an Iowa State alumni. Would you be willing to talk to an Iowa State student that's trying to network and find out about field jobs? And I attach their resume. I have pretty much had almost 100% response that yes,
really?
They'll do. Yeah, Iowa State alumni. And the thing is I get work with PhDs and postdocs, and I have them talk to bachelor levels. We need to understand it doesn't matter what your degree is, we all can help each other in that way.
I think that in plant breeding we often have I'm a plant breeder, I have a PhD or a master's or whatever it is. And sometimes I forget about the undergrads at Iowa State, right? Because there are a lot of graduate students, and we kind of have this community, but there are a lot of undergraduate students too.
Well, and there's a lot of people my age, and I'm older and younger, that maybe have bachelor's degrees but have worked up into the company because technology has come along as they've been out in the field.
Yeah.
And so you may be supervised by somebody who has a bachelor's degree, but they're only hiring PhDs. And so it's really important not to get that put off sense that you don't have a PhD, because those people have been working in the field 30 and 40 years and have actually helped develop this technology that you're working on. And so we just need to make sure that we don't get kind of hierarchical in our thinking of both degrees or social structure, all those things that people can sometimes tend to have.
Yeah. That's interesting. I love the fact that now all job posts almost are on LinkedIn, right? Indeed has now overtaken Monster or whatever the previous site was, but I see the same job on Indeed that I do in LinkedIn.
Correct.
And we're just looking for jobs, and they're definitely there in industry. Now, LinkedIn for the public sector. Where do you go? How do you utilize that? Is it possible to find jobs, a professorship job or a job in academia on LinkedIn?
There's more and more universities that are moving to that. There's still quite a few universities at academia that don't. I work with a lot of grad students that their faculty refuse to be on LinkedIn because it's not academic enough. But if they were to understand and they start to network, that they might find a former student of theirs out there that's in charge of funding. And wouldn't that be great if you had a former student that loved you, that you could go back and get some funding from them at their organization. So I'm trying to explain to faculty and academia that it is for everybody. And also they might find somebody they could collaborate with in Australia, across the world, that they're both interested in the same topic. And it's a great way to find people that are interested in that same thing. Yeah,
I need to connect with more professors and twist their arm into joining LinkedIn, because there are some that are out there that are very prevalent. There's a professor, a wheat breeder out in California, that I wouldn't say she fills up my LinkedIn feed. She posts a lot, and she posts the most relevant information, right? She's always like, we're in the field today, we're getting great yields. She has pictures of her looking at the 2 different wheat varieties that she just harvested, explaining the differences. So there's maybe a collage of 3 or 4 images there, and maybe a jot of 3 or 4 lines showing what they're doing. And she does that, or she's meeting with external contacts or whatever it is. And almost every post that she creates, and I don't really know this individual that well, but I have her on LinkedIn through a shared connection. But she's providing very meaningful content, not someone just, I read this article, I'm going to post it on LinkedIn. So my question is, how would you post on LinkedIn? Because I feel like I don't want to post too much, but I want to at least be somewhat out there and show people who I am and what I'm about, my story, right? What am I doing? So what would you suggest?
Well, a lot of it is it's not about you. You're really posting about other people. And so there's a lot of people that don't like you to post about you. But I think that when you win an award, if it's not posted out there somewhere, definitely post that. That's good information. I do a lot of reposting. I don't feel like I have a lot of I don't write a blog in there like you can do.
Right.
But what you do is you try to find something that other people are going to be interested in. So I find an article on writing a resume, and they have a couple tips in there. I repost that, and I add my own subject, my own couple of sentences to that. And what's really key now on LinkedIn, and I'm old, but I've learned how to use the hashtags, is putting in those hashtags, because then in LinkedIn, you can actually save hashtags that you want to follow. And so then that will accomplish. And so then bringing out, so they don't have to read the whole article, say, the top 3 points of a LinkedIn profile really are your name, your headline, and having bullet points under your experiences. Check out this article, and that's how you start. The algorithms then in LinkedIn, the more you post, the more they show you to other people.
Okay.
Now, I don't even know what an algorithm is, but I know how they work. And so the more people that you like, when you like their comment or make a comment on there, that shows that you're active on LinkedIn. I don't write much original content. That's just my weakness that I need to work on. But I do repost other people's content and share that, because then that's going to go to my followers. And then the people that I repost are very happy because they're starting to get more people that are contacting them.
So just a case in point here, Julie Borlaug, who is Norman Borlaug's granddaughter. Right. And she's an activist in the plant breeding and agricultural community just after her grandfather. She reposted these awards that was given out at looks like Texas A&M for the wheat genomics team. And so I'm sure that these individuals are in their gratitude, because I know Julie probably has a lot of followers. So this is kind of like Twitter almost. It's becoming more of it, right? So Julie will repost something, and then all of a sudden now everybody gets to see it.
And actually on LinkedIn, you can hook it up to a Twitter account so that things will go off to Twitter. If you want to pull up my my profile real quick, I had a lot of workshops before the end of the academic semester, and we did a LinkedIn and just a variety of different things. And if we go down here to my activity, see all my activity, we'll see if it comes up. Yeah, and then you want to go to my posts right there. So this shows what I've posted, and I have yet to say Happy New Year. But if you scroll down a little bit more, before the holidays. So here's one picture. I have a couple of these from before. We met with postdocs and we talked about different things. And so I took a picture of everybody there. And now in LinkedIn, you can tag people just like you could in Facebook. So
that's new, because you couldn't do that before.
No, that's new within like the last 6 months. You just never know what shows up on LinkedIn. And so if you see in here, I have tagged the different people's names so that those students now, my contacts, when I post that, that goes to theirs, and they have that much more exposure. And so it's really a good thing. The next one down there had quite a few more people, so I didn't have all their names to tag. But they can go in and tag themselves.
They can tag themselves.
I think what you can do, and what I've done is in comments, is if they've emailed me and said they approved that, I didn't want to tag them unless they wanted me to. It was kind of a privacy thing, I felt like, in the university. That's true. So if they said they wanted me to, or they gave that information. But yeah, right there you can see some of the names.
14 of them.
And then I can go back and look at my, there's a picture. We had quite a great group. And those are the people I tagged. And then a lot of times I've gone into my comments of those and tagged additional people, and that then again shows them, helps get their name out and seen on LinkedIn. Yeah, so the tagging is really important, but just posting about information that you can share with others, and it's because things that really other people don't know. There's some information, and so it doesn't have to be a long thing. It doesn't have to be. It can be a short type of information, but just keeping something within your field, and decide if you're going to topic on a certain topic. Don't make it personal. It's not a Facebook page.
Right.
So
keep it professional, right?
Keep it professional. Yeah. It's not a place to post happy birthday to your children. I do use the message on notifications. It'll tell me when people have birthdays and job anniversaries. Right. I do use that because that's my personality. And there are some people that I will say happy birthday. Kevin, when your birthday comes around, I will message you happy birthday.
A message, but not a post,
but
right?
not a post.
Yeah.
I will message you happy birthday.
I think that's more personal anyways.
And what that does is keeps you and I connected. So if we haven't talked to anybody I've been on like 11 years, and I see somebody that's popped up that I haven't talked to in 5 years, and it was their birthday. If it's somebody that I would have gone to their desk on their birthday and said, hey, happy birthday, let's have coffee, or we got cake for you, I might send them a message that says, happy birthday, just checking in, how are you doing? And what you're doing is reminding that person that you're out there, you're still connected, that if you need to connect back with that friend or former colleague, that you still kept that door open. And that's how that
phone.
helps without having to make phone calls or, all those other things. Just a little drop.
Yeah, it's good to keep that connection going.
Yes.
I
Keeping
try
that
to do that as
connection is
well.
important, and that's the biggest part, is keeping the connection. So even if it's once a year, I do that. Or if I find former students of mine that have now changed to another position. I had a former student that he just changed to another level director position, and so I went out and publicly on his thing and said, congratulations, you're doing a great job, it's so proud.
It's nice. What people don't realize is the algorithm picks up if people are commenting on it, and so if you get people even like that, like congratulations, that will actually get moved more and more.
Right.
And I've noticed that with my own posts. So if I put out a video and people say, oh, congratulations, or whatever, comment on the video, then I think more and more followers, because your followers will now see that you commented on it.
And you don't see everything that I post. I mean, because I have quite a few followers right now, connections, and so you don't see everything I post. The algorithms kind of start to determine what hashtags people follow, and so I try not to fill up people's feeds when you talk about how often. I think
sparingly at times.
I think reposting for me. There's been weeks that I've reposted something every day, which is a little heavy. But if I have good content and I want it to be, it's really important to get it out right now, and I don't want it to be. Later I do it. Otherwise, I even kind of put things in a folder and say, okay, this week I'm going to pull this out and publish that and focus on that topic. So try to be a little strategic about whether I'm doing it, looking at the holidays, just trying to realize. And so that, over the holidays this year, I have not been posting much for 2 full weeks, and that's an unusual thing for me. You send an invitation to invite somebody to connect with you on LinkedIn, always send a note with that says why you want to connect with them. There's an area where you can add a note, and you just click on the add a note, and you say, hey, I saw you speaking at this organization or at this conference. I found that interesting. I'd like to pick your brain or talk to you about whatever, or I'd like to follow you because I am needing job search skills.
Just going back to posting, you showed that picture. When I go to conferences or tours or something where I'm out in the field working with other plant breeders or plant breeding students, I love to get my phone out and take a video and take a couple of videos and splice them together and put them up and say, oh, we had a tour today at Iowa State and we had these people out, and I feel like that motion picture content, that video content, is almost the next level now than just a static picture, and you can see, oh, there's people there, and I think it draws the attention in, and I love showing us being out in the field and being active. Or maybe you're at a conference and you're networking with other people, but that video thing is something that I try to do, but I don't post a lot. I post infrequently, but when I do post, I make sure it's the best in show, right? I'm not gonna post things that don't matter. I'm gonna take the best part and post that.
And that draws on your skills as a videographer.
Right.
And video really has just come around on LinkedIn in the last 6 months. They didn't used to allow it at all. They didn't have video. And that's a skill I need to gain. And I don't know how to go splice video and make it look pretty. And I think it's important to have good video if you're doing it.
That's true, right?
There's one individual that's out there helping a lot of graduate students right now, and he does these quick videos, and he's in the camera, and he's screaming at the camera, and I'm thinking he's a little overwhelming.
Right.
So you want to come across professional.
That's true.
And so I have yet to really feel comfortable with that.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit, not LinkedIn, but just as graduate students or postdocs, in networking and meeting new people, going to conferences. This is one thing that I found immensely important. In fact, I was out for dinner last night, and I sat down, and it was a company meal, and I looked across the table and I thought, I know that individual. And everyone was introducing each other because I'm new here, and I'm like, I know you. And I remember talking to you about the so-and-so subject, and we kind of scratched our heads like, yes, that was a long time ago. And we realized that we had met at a conference a number of years back.
Oh, great.
And when I was a graduate student. And now we were sitting together at dinner last night, and we took off our conversation from where we left off 2 or 3 years ago. And if I wouldn't have gone to that conference, if I wouldn't have been open to meeting new people at that conference, connecting with them, because I feel like as a graduate student, we get into this this comfort zone.
Oh, yeah.
And I would go to a conference or a symposium, and there's 3 or 4 other students from my lab or from my university, and I hang out with them because that's my comfort zone. I don't get to see other professors or other postdocs or other scientists or whether it be in industry too. And if I don't make those connections, I'm just kind of sitting still.
Right. I think the conferences, all those things are just valuable. But what you need to do is prepare before you go. And I'm giving away all my Iowa State secrets here. So, I kind of have said my Iowa State students have these little heads up because they have these things. But, go find out who's going to be speaking at the conference. Is that a person that you're going to want to try to get 5 minutes with?
Right.
Rather than standing in line after their presentation with 20 other graduate students and faculty that want to talk to that person briefly, email them before the conference and say, I'm going to be attending this conference. I'm looking forward to your presentation. Would you mind if we scheduled 5 minutes to talk briefly before or after your presentation? Now you have shown that you think ahead, you're organized, you're going to get their full attention, and they are going to remember you. And then you can maybe get their phone number so that you can text and say, yeah, let's meet at coffee at this area in the building, or email. So that allows you to really make an impression that you think forward. A lot of graduate students are very shy and very uncomfortable in having conversations. So bring a buddy, have 2 with you, 2 or 3 people, and make the goal to talk to this one person. And that way, when one person's asking that question and the others are kind of nervous, you can kind of take turns asking those questions, and you don't feel as awkward. So going in a team, a couple of you together, but making sure that you don't just stay in your area and with your group, because connecting at conferences is all about how you're going to be finding jobs. The also thing is never burn a bridge. So never burn a bridge in grad school with a colleague, the fellow graduate student, because what happens is you sit across that table, and if you had been in an argument or didn't work well together, that's going to come back and they're going to go, oh yeah, I remember that person.
Plant breeding is a small world.
Everything.
And it feels like it's almost getting smaller. So I'm lucky enough to know people in academia and industry from around the world now. And that's one thing I hold dear to my heart is do not burn a bridge. Just build bridges, don't burn them.
Yeah, and when you're in a PhD and postdoc position, you are drilled down to a very exact science. So it is a small little group of people. And you will be running into each other throughout your career. Maybe 10 years from now, maybe tomorrow. But you always want to make sure that thought that they had of you was a positive one. Yeah, never build a bridge. I went to a lot of conferences, not too many. You do have to get work done at the end of the day, but the ones that you do go to, make sure you make them count, right? Go and meet new people. Don't be in the corner talking in your comfort zone. And that's definitely something that I can't say enough because it really helped me. And I really want to say a little bit more is that there are a lot of graduate students that struggle with that conversation skills. So seek out ways to build your conversation skills. Toastmasters is an excellent organization that you can go and start to meet people, but you really work on how to introduce yourself, how to have a conversation, and how to get more confident in yourself. We're not used to listening to ourselves talk. So when we say, hello, my name is, all of a sudden I hear my voice and I go, oh, I sound so stupid. And so what you want is to build that confidence of, okay, this is how my voice sounds out loud, and not dwell on that because we're focused on the conversation. So the more you practice speaking, so if you're not somebody that is a conversation, I'm very outgoing, so that's easy for me. But if you're not somebody that is a conversationalist, it's hard to step up and say, so what are you here for today? What are you getting out of this conference? You need to practice that before you go.
So there are courses that we take in grad school that try to help us with some of these softer skills. but I still don't think they're emphasized enough, because often graduate students are individuals who are not outgoing like you and me. I mean, I do a lot of these personality tests in different places: the DISC profile, the Myers-Briggs, the shapes I did.
Oh, I haven't done that one. The
twice
strengths.
now.
I've done strengths
The ASTA, America Sea Trade Association ambassador, SEED ambassador leadership training. I've been to it twice now, and both times they did the shapes training. So it's very similar to all of these. But what I've noticed is, for us scientists, we skew towards more of the contemplative types, the I need data, I need do this analysis. They're not the outgoing networking types.
Yeah.
That's just who we are.
Well, and I think we need to look at it and just take away the networking and say you have this information, you have this data, and you want to get this out to people. You need to share it, you need to somehow, so instead of taking away the network, saying, I'm educating the public. So I know a grad student that when he was in grad school, he would post on LinkedIn every week or two some new field treatments that were going on in the field that he was looking at, in the disease. And so what he was doing was communicating difficult science to the average person.
Right.
Now, it was on a certain disease that I was familiar with, so I followed it because I was like, oh, that's coming around, that's cool. So what you're doing is you're finding then a new group of people by communicating hard science to the average person that can understand it. And that's how another way that LinkedIn can help you.
We need more and more people like that. And I'm a bit of an advocate. I am a SEED ambassador for ASTA, and I work in the kind of the education committee, or I volunteer with NAPB. But we need more individuals that are outgoing, that are willing to help communicate our science to the outside world, whether it be to other scientists or to the public. And I'm definitely an advocate for it, and you need to find more people.
Well, and I think, I work predominantly with international students here at Iowa State, a great majority that are still struggling with English as a second language, cultural norms that they're not used to. So much of my coaching with students is on, this is how you shake hands in the United States. I know that's not something you're comfortable with.
Right.
These are certain things. I get them in and talking with them and get them in situations to help them if they're wanting to stay in the States or North America. These are maybe some of the skills to be seen better. It culturally, in their culture, may not have been a norm to kind of self-promote, but in the United States, it's not self-promoting, it's just getting your name out.
Right.
It's not a bad thing. It's not seen as a negative. So a lot of times those people that turn into be great communicators, it's a matter of them learning these new social norms and cultural norms that they can, and once they understand that and they start to get comfortable, I have a grad or postdoc that's just gotten on LinkedIn, and he's doing great. And 3 months ago he didn't know what LinkedIn was and had a really hard time talking with people.
Right.
And now he's out there and making a difference.
Right.
So it's something that anybody can do, even if you think you're very shy. I promise you can do it.
So I know a lot of the graduate student members on our NAPB graduate student working group are international, and just going through grad school myself, I know a lot of the individuals are. Not everybody's at Iowa State. Not everybody can find you. Do you have counterparts around America, around the world that help students like this?
Oh yes, I am a part of the Graduate Career Consortium, which is called the GCC. It's been around for a long time, but it's really growing. And that organization is we all do career services, career coaching for graduate students and postdocs. Go to your university and see in the career services if they have somebody that works specifically with graduate students. There's also not many universities out there that have anything for postdocs.
Postdocs are often the ones that need the most
Correct.
assistance in getting that, going from being a postdoc to getting that first professorship. position, right? That can be very difficult.
Very difficult.
Especially in today's academic climate. So it's great that you're there helping, and hopefully there are people like you in Texas A&M, in UC Davis, in Purdue, in University of Nebraska, all the other plant breeding schools, University of Minnesota, NDSU, and I don't want to leave anyone else. North Carolina, Florida, I don't know. So to wrap this up, I think my advice to other graduate students and postdocs would be to go to campus, go to the career services sections on your website of your university, and find someone like Karen, because I am very happy and glad and thankful, grateful that I found her, and you really helped me with not only for applying to jobs, but you helped me with interviewing skills as well, preparing for interviews, knowing the STAR method for the behavioral based interviews, and then the 360, the asking for the honest, hard feedback. What am I doing wrong? Do I come off as a jerk? Am I too strong, or am I too maybe soft or timid? Tell me, because often a lot of people don't ask what they could be doing better because they don't want to get criticized. But if you don't know what you're doing wrong, you don't know how to change to become better and to get that position that you applied for. So thank you very much for taking time out of your day and giving the NAPB an hour of your time so that you could sit with me and help the future plant breeders or the current plant breeders out there.
No problem. I love working with you, Kevin, and I think this is a great service to people. And I just want to say that when you look at those career services offices, if you find, also check with your graduate college or a postdoc office, because sometimes they have, like me, I'm located in our graduate college. I'm not a part of the career services that are in the colleges, and sometimes a little bit more focus tends to be on the undergrads because there's so many more students.
Right.
And so keep seeking out. Don't just stop with one no, or ask the dean of your graduate college, what career services are you offering for us? Because that is a national trend, is to increase that career services for graduate students and postdocs.
Excellent. That's good to hear.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.